I believe so. We might go through the roll though. Okay. Mr. Henrik, was there proof of notification?
Yes, there was, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Let's see. Let's go ahead and figure out who all's here. Have Supervisor Gentis
here.
Okay. Yeah, we'll do this like regular.
Dave Turk is here.
He's here. Supervisor Luck is here. Supervisor C, Supervisor Cooey, and then I bet Supervisor Brewer is Richland County. And
here.
Myself. Okay, so I don't think we're missing anyone. I think we have everyone in attendance.
Mr. Sheep is here.
Yes. Okay, great. So we have a quorum, so we can conduct business. Agenda item number 3, agenda approval. So I'm looking for a motion to approve a 19-point agenda today.
This is Luck. Motion to approve.
Okay, motion
Turk, I'll second.
Motion by Supervisor Luck and a second by Supervisor Turk. All those in favor of the agenda, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Agenda item number 4, previous meeting minutes. So the minutes that were available on iPads, those are the last that are going to be written by yours truly. So, Mr. Lengrek, would you like to go ahead and introduce our the person who's taking minutes today?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this is our new accounting supervisor, Mr. Joshua Bell, and he is on a crash course on how to do minutes. I'll be kind of doing most of it today as he kind of monitors, and then we'll have him in posture and position to be doing them going forward.
Okay, sounds great. Welcome, Mr. Bell. Looking forward to you being part of these meetings.
Quite photogenic.
Okay, so I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes from the February meeting.
So moved.
Okay, motion by Brewer.
Second.
By Seep. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. We have approved minutes. Agenda item number 5, property sale, tax deed parcel number 146-0009-0410. Mr. Langrek or Ms. Keller? Is Ms. Keller on the line? I think Mr. Langrek may have just gone to get her, if I'm not mistaken. I saw him step away. Oh, no, I see Ms. Keller. I see you're on the line here, but I'm not hearing you. I don't see you muted.
Okay.
Oh, there you go. I heard you say okay.
Okay, this is a tax deed parcel that was presented for sale at the January 5th finance meeting. It was appraised at $100. We had no bidders, and the owner of the property adjoining this parcel expressed interest in purchasing the tax deed parcel for the $100. So he did mail us a check with a $30 recording fee. So I'm presenting that for approval to sell it to the neighbor, Lonnie Osthoff.
So we're looking for a motion to approve the sale of that tax deed parcel to the neighbor down in Lone Rock for $100.
Correct.
Okay. Anyone willing to make that motion?
This is Luck. I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Luck,
I'll second.
second by Supervisor Brewer. Any discussion on the motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Supervisor Seaton.
understood that it was appraised for $100. Are you?
Is that true, Ms. Keller? Was it appraised for 100?
Yes, that's true.
Thank
The
you.
property committee set the price at 100. Yes.
Okay, any other questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to sell the tax deed parcel, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion carries. We have another parcel back on the tax rolls and in the ownership of a neighbor. Agenda item number 6, property sale, section 75.69, section 2 to Richland Center, tax deed parcel number 276-1684-8200.
Mr. Chair, looking today for recommendation to recommend a resolution to the Richland County Board to sell the tax deed parcel number 276-1684-8200 Richland Center at a value of $1 to the city of Richland Center in accordance with Wisconsin State Statute Section 7569-2 for purposes of future economic development. The background on this item is in efforts to continue with the process of working with Richland Center for raising the parcel and utilizing the plot for future economic development. Guidance through Corporation Council included the following. The steps that were laid out for us was to have Property Building Grounds Committee appraise it at $1, Finance and Personnel to present resolution for selling it to the city for $1. This is kind of outside our ordinance procedure, and it kind of defaults to an action that we can do by state statute. So we present resolution into the county board. With the city's acceptance and payment for the land, then we could have the new city owners make a plea to Supervisor Richard McKee of the Property Committee to have the 3-year redemption period waived. And then assuming then we get the voluntary release from the 6 heirs that own the property, that property would be free and clear for the city of Richland Center to raise it and to help promote an increased development on it to increase property tax value. And I also have Director Glassbrenner, I think, is on if there was additional questions that wanted to be asked from an economic development standpoint. Mr. Chair.
Okay, so do we have any questions for Mr. Glassbrenner from the committee?
Mr. Chair,
Yeah, Supervisor Seat, go ahead.
I move to approve a motion to recommend approval to the county board.
Okay, so we've got a motion by Seat,
This is Dave. I'll second it.
a second by Turk. Is there any discussion on this motion? Okay, if not, I'll go ahead and please ask all those in favor to please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Glassbrenner, for coming. Agenda item number 7, a report on property tax comparison and Richland County debt. So I'm going to present this one. This is some information that I gathered a couple weeks ago. I got, let's see, I was talking to Supervisor Caro, and he mentioned that he noticed in the Green Book, it was showing that we had the highest per debt capita, did I say that right? Per capita debt in the state of Wisconsin, out of 2 counties. So I did some research to find out what was behind that #1 ranking. And this comes from the Green Book. That comes from the Counties Association. It's called Forward Analytics, but that's an arm of the Counties Association. They showed us as having an above average property tax levy and rates and the highest debt per capita per person, and that was back in 2018. So these are selected pages from the Green Book. It says 2020, but this is for 2018 data, I believe. So if you scroll to the second page there, on this document, there are three different sets of data. The first is property tax levy, and this shows that we are in the second quartile, so that's below the median for property tax levy. And let me see here. So to get up to speed here, if you can go to the next page, actually, after the map, I've highlighted where Richland County is. It's $492 of levy that the county levies. This doesn't include school districts or municipalities or the tech colleges per person. And actually, this data is for 2019. So this was payable in 2020. So these are the property taxes we all just got done paying last year in 2020. And the average down below is $390 per person across the state, and ours is $492. So that's why we're above average with the county levy. Now, I believe the county levy includes both operating and debt. So it combines both into one figure. On the next page, and I hope you guys are following along. I can only see the cover sheet right now. I'm following along on my on my laptop, but these are property tax rates. And here we are in the top 25% of all the counties, of all 72 counties. So the way they figure rates is by $1,000 of value on your property. So in Richland County, we levy $7.36, the county government does, per $1,000 of value that someone owns for property. The average in the state is $4.09. So we're above that by a little over $3 per thousand. And then the last one is county debt. And there we were in the number one position back in 2018. We've dropped to the number two position now. So Richland County is at $1,405 of debt per person. You know, this data, I'm sorry, I'm getting a little confused, but this is from 2018. The average in the state is $445. And the top amount, it shows us as being number one in this one. So if you go to the next attachment, which is the property tax comparisons by county, here's where you can see that the data has changed because the gentleman I contacted at the Counties Association, he gave us updated data for the year following. So I've sorted this on the first page by county alphabetically, so you can see where we rank, and I've highlighted where Richland County is. We have 18,000 people. Our value of all of our property is $1.2 billion. And then our county tax, or our tax levy, is $8.8 million. And that's how you get to $491 per person. And we rank 37th out of the 72 counties. So when you actually look at, I think with averages, I said we were above average, but we're kind of really in the middle more, and we're actually in a better position when you compare us to other counties. You look at our total tax levy. Where we're higher, though, as you can see in that last column, is $7.36 per thousand, and that puts us at number 6 out of 72 counties. And then on the next page, it shows our debt, and our debt is at $24 million, or it was as of the end of, I believe this is 2019. Here is where we're at number 2 now, at $1,335 per person. And Iron County has the highest debt at $19. And then what you were just on, you can go back to that. That's the schedule from the clerk. I requested the information on all of our debt schedules and payments from the clerk. We currently, as of the end of 2020, that amount has gone up. We're up at $25.5 million now And of course, that's because we borrowed additional monies for the $3 million worth of debt. And then on all the subsequent pages, you can see the debt schedules for each of the different bonds that we've taken out. And on the last attachment, I compiled those into one document that shows, at least for this year and out into the year 2036. It shouldn't say 1936. It says 2030. It should be 2036. It shows how much debt we have that we're going to be levying each year. So it's a little over $3 million this year, and then it will drop to $2.2 million next year if we did no additional borrowing. So I just compiled all of this. The purpose of it was to just kind of get ourselves up to speed, get the whole committee up to speed on where we stand with debt, how we compare to other counties, how our taxes compare to other counties. I know it was of interest to Supervisor Caro, and so I thought it might be of interest to the rest of the committee too. So with that, I'll stop talking and take questions or comments.
Mr. Chair,
Supervisor Turk?
just in looking at these numbers, I guess I would say I'm not surprised. We are a rural county with not a large population and not a large property tax base. And so, you know, in the interest of funding county government, yeah, we wind up in the upper scale of some of those numbers. And in some ways, parts of it are due to factors that are beyond our control. We can't increase our per capita population to, you know, increase the number of people it's spread out across. We have limited ability to grow our tax base, although even just an action we took a little while ago is a step in trying to do that. And so, you know, things that we can do to make this picture look better while still maintaining the operations of the county. It is good for us to keep this information in mind, but it seems that, like I said, the numbers here aren't unexpected, so I don't know that it is something that will cause great difference in our budgeting or planning strategies, but it is good to know where we stand.
Okay, thanks for those comments. Other committee members?
This is Mr. Turk.
We didn't quite catch all that, Supervisor Seat. Go ahead.
I said, good analysis by Mr. Turk.
Okay, any other committee members? The only other thing I'll add is that I did talk to Ms. Worth when I was gathering this data, and she said it's fairly common for government agencies that have recently taken out quite a bit of debt, say to build a new nursing home or build a school or a new public safety building or whatever the new debt might be, to rank high. And then as they pay that off, their ranking goes down. So it's pretty similar to, you know, when you get a mortgage, you know, you first move into your house, you probably have the highest, you know, especially if you're buying for the first time, you're going to have a higher mortgage load than many of your neighbors who have been there longer. So that's also another way to think about the debt per capita information. Okay, so I think with that, I should mention too, so I'm looking for a motion to receive and file this information. I did a little digging around on parliamentary procedure, and oftentimes a receive and file implies that there's nothing inaccurate. So if there's ever anything inaccurate that I or anyone brings to the committee and we have something like a receive and file or an accept and file, I think it's good to just bring up, I have some issues with the accuracy or maybe the context isn't appropriate. So if we are receiving something, we're kind of putting our blessing on what's in there that it at least is accurate. So I'm looking for a motion to receive and file that information.
Mrs. Luck, I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by Supervisor Luck.
I will second with discussion.
Supervisor Seaton, go ahead.
Yes, I thank you for this information.
Happy to do it. I'm trying to get myself educated, so I thought you guys might want to see it too.
Well done.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
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 Okay, any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Agenda item number 8, Clerk of Courts, notification of hiring bailiffs and establishing positions. Mr. Langrat.
Mr. Chair, looking today for a motion to recommend a resolution of the county board to establish 8 casual call-in jury bailiff positions under the clerk of court's authority and to allow the clerk of court to recruit and fill these positions in preparation for the return of in-person jury trials. Background on this item, the circuit court has a need for call-in jury bailiffs. To the court's knowledge, no formal process has ever been set for the hiring and selection of persons who can fill the call-in jury bailiffs on a casual basis. In-person jury trials are set to resume in March of 2021. The Finance and Personnel Committee have previously accepted an authorization table, which again was more of a report than a resolution, indicating that there was 8 of these positions. The requested action would recommend that the county board exercise its authority granted by Wisconsin State Statute 5922 1-2C1B, except as provided to establish the deputies and the employees of this office. Mr. Chair.
And I see this is in the adopted budget. Any questions from committee members about this?
This is Melissa Luck. I have a question. Is the clerk of court, Stacy Kleist, on the call? Did anyone see?
Yes, I am, Melissa.
Hi. My question, I just want to clarify, were these, I mean, obviously we've had jury trials in the past, and so we must have had bailiffs. Were those in the past provided by the sheriff's department, or how did we cover this?
Well, I don't know the history prior to me being here, so I can only speak of like 14 years. Since I have been here, and I know, before I started, they were paid out of they've been paid out of the circuit court budgets. However, at some point there was some history with involvement with the sheriff's department that I know, only because they had like old brown jackets that they've had worn, and I remember people having talked that those were purchased through the sheriff's department, and there was only some kind of history of these civilian bailiffs being issued deputy cards, which is kind of silly. It's a practice that nobody can really put their finger on as to why we do it, just because we've always done it, so we don't do it anymore. They're pretty much now, I don't think they have any involvement with the sheriff's department, with the sheriff's department's budget or anything like that. So I think that may have been something decades ago, but not now. They're they're paid out of the jury line from the circuit court budget.
Thank you.
Ms. Kleist, one question I have, and so it sounds like we've always had these positions, and it was just never made formal that the county board was authorizing the positions. Is that correct?
That's correct, and we've always been able to kind of just keep floating by with what we had, but again, as times went on, people have passed away who were serving as bailiffs, people have retired. Our group is getting very small. We often don't have enough to pull things off properly when we actually do have a trial, because right now we don't have any men that are in the call-in group, and ideally for a jury trial you want to have a female and a male bailiff, because they do accompany the jury, like when the jury goes to the restroom and stuff, just for the sanctity of trials, to make sure that no one is speaking to them and whatever. So now we've kind of been in a situation where we only have female bailiffs, and we can do that. It's not ideal, but we also only have a couple of female bailiffs. We have others who go down south for the winter and things like that. And where it's so seldom that they get called in, I mean, we can't tell them, hey, you guys, put your lives on hold for these days. We may or may not have a trial, blah, blah, blah. We need to make the group a little bit larger just so that we can pull off the functions of a trial.
Thank
Does
you.
that make sense?
Yep, it
Yeah.
does. Any other questions or any discussion from other committee members? If not, let's see, did we get a motion yet? I don't believe we did. Looking for a motion. This would go to the county board to establish 8 positions.
This is Dave. I'll make the motion.
Gentis, I so move.
We'll do a motion by Supervisor Turk and a second by Supervisor Gentis. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Thank you, Ms. Kleist.
Thank you all.
Agenda item number 9, MIS Barracuda Web Filter Renewal. Mr. Langreich.
Mr. Chair, looking today for, sorry, one second, let me get it pulled up. Hold on. Looking today for a motion to approve purchase of the Barracuda Web Filter 410 Energizer updates, advanced threat protection, and instant replacement for 1 year at a total cost of $3,937.68. Background on this item is the Barracuda Web Filter is the device that Richland County uses to filter web traffic and keep the network safe. It also protects us from allowing undesirable traffic on the web, on the work networks, and limits access to certain sites such as social media sites for workers during the working day. This device requires annual subscriptions so that it is kept current in the event in the ever-changing world of the internet. This is budgeted and anticipated yearly expense in the MIS department, and we do have a reference then for the Barracuda system through JComp. I believe Director Scott is on for further questions, Mr. Chair.
Okay, looking for a motion on this.
I'll move.
Second, Smart.
Motion by Brewer, second by Cooey. Any questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Agenda item number 10, public health. Extending the deadline for vacation extension for Rosetta Cahoot, Public Health Manager, Local Health Officer. Mr. Langreich.
Mr. Chair, looking today for a recommendation to approve a request to extend the use of the 63.69 hours of accrued vacation time for Rosetta Cahoot, Public Health Manager, Local Health Officer until August 30th, 2021, and forward the recommendation onto the Finance Personnel Committee, which that is you folks, and then onto the County Board for approval. So we did have Resolution 2111, which granted authority to the administrator, myself, to extend vacation times out until June 30th. This is outside of the context then of the authority established by that resolution. So with the ongoing pandemic and the significant role that Rose is playing into it, Director Thorson has approached us in asking that these additional 93 hours and 93.69 hours be extended all the way out until August 30th. I believe I saw Director Thorson on for additional questions, Mr. Chair.
So I had to do a little research on this one because I thought we had handed this off to the administrator. This committee made recommendations to the for changes to the employee handbook back in September that never went to county board. Mr. Langreich is working with Mr. Southwick on some issues that he had with our changes. And then on top of that, the specific change about vacation extension, we made a change back in, was it spring of 2020 or spring of 2019, saying that if people wanted an extension, they could come to Finance and Personnel, and that was not caught in those batch of changes from September, where we were going to hand this off to the administrator. So two different reasons this is still coming to us. One, it hasn't gone to the county board, and two, this committee didn't actually approve that specific recommendation. So that's why this item is before us today. So any questions or comments from committee members?
I move for approval.
Motion by Supervisor Seep. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by, second by Cooey. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that motion carries. Agenda item number 11, Pine Valley reclassification fiscal clerk A to payroll and accounts payable clerk. Mr. Langert.
Chair, looking today, let me get my, sorry, it's system here wants to convert everything to a searchable image. 1 second. Okay, Mr. Chair, recommend a motion today to present a resolution to the County Board of Reclassification for fiscal clerk A from Pine Valley wage grade E, step 5 at $17.56 to Pine Valley wage grade F, step 5, $19.85, and a title change for the fiscal clerk A to payroll and accounts payable clerk. And then the second reclassification request for the current fiscal clerk B from Pine Valley wage schedule E, step 5, to Pine Valley wage grade F, step 5, and title change to fiscal clerk to billing specialist. The background on this is the Finance and Personnel voted in December 2019 to recommend to the county board these two fiscal positions be moved from step 5 to step 8 on their current wage grade E. However, due to the amendments made in Resolution 1935, the increases did not happen. Submitted in the packet were two packets that you would have seen with a cover sheet and checklist on the different items, a existing position description, and a proposed position description with the changes for both the positions of the A and the B. And I have Administrator Rizlo on to further expound on the details of this recommendation. Mr. Chair.
So one question I have, I'm looking at the minutes from December of 2019 from the county board, and I don't see the fiscal positions on that. And was the amendment made before it went to the county board, or what exactly happened here?
Tom, are you there?
I am sorry. I was not clicking on my buttons correctly.
Hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. I believe the amendment was made by yourself at the county board meeting, and certain positions were pulled out of it at that time. It appears to me, looking back at that, they might have been pulled just before the resolution was written up, so it was not included in there. But this particular finance committee did approve moving the fiscal clerk's wages in December of 2019. Does that somewhat answer your question?
I don't remember why I did that, though. It does answer my question. I'm seeing that in the minutes now, but looks like that happened at the county board, and the motion did carry.
Correct. For whatever reason, at that time, the county was focused on doing something for the nursing people out here at Pine Valley, and thought it was perhaps premature to address others at that time. So our homework on this was to send off, or to first have a meeting with our trustees at Pine Valley, and they approved us moving this on to get it looked at. We updated the job descriptions, ran those past the county administrator, gave input, and then we passed those on to Patrick Glenn. We gave him a description of the additional duties that these two positions have taken on, and we sent him the old job descriptions and the new job descriptions. And we got, just within the last hour, Patrick Glenn's response. I have emailed that to Clint. I'm not sure if he's sent that on to all of you, but it's very short. Essentially, if I need to, I can read. He's treated these two separately. On the payroll and AP clerk, he has essentially agreed with recognizing all of the changes that we have say exist in that job, but his recommendation is to leave that wage at grade E. He is not recommending moving it. And the billing specialist, again, he is recognizing all the changes that we have put forward, and he is agreeing with our recommendation to move that from grade E to grade F. So I'm not going to focus much more on the billing specialist since he's recognizing what we've put forward for arguments. I am disagreeing with his conclusion not to move the payroll and AP clerk. Payroll and AP clerk here at Pine Valley shares a small office configuration with the billing specialist, and to have two people with similar levels of responsibility at different grades would be an issue. I also have an issue with leaving the payroll and AP clerk where they're currently at, which is $1,756. Back in December of 19, in your documents as a finance committee would show this, the market wage for the fiscal clerk at that time was $19.85, and we were paying $17.56 at that time, and still paying $17.56. That $19.85 has probably moved closer to $20 or a little bit over $20 per hour, and we're still paying $17.56. But going forward with the recommendation that Therese Deckert and I have put forward, and moving both of these positions to grade F would get them both closer to the market level where they need to be. I'll take questions.
I have a question.
Yep, go Supervisor Brewer.
The 1986 you referenced, Tom, was that from Patrick Glenn's work?
Back in December of 2019, his documents showed estimated market wages for these positions going into 2020. It was 1985 was the estimated market value of that position.
But now he does not support increasing it.
He addressed in this letter, which came again within just the last hour, only the recommendation of whether or not to move the grade level of this position. He did not send with supporting or non-supporting documents with that. He just went with, did the changes to the challenges of the job, the decision-making of the job, the interactions and communications of the job warrant it moving to another level? And he said with the payroll and AP clerk, it did not. I'm assuming, I hate to say that word, but I'm assuming he has some kind of program that he plugs these changes into, and it didn't move the needle probably enough. Probably it had to have moved it because he agreed that there were changes, but it didn't move it enough. And my problem with not moving this one while moving the other position is that you'll have two people with similar level responsibilities earning about $2 an hour difference.
Right, that seems like a glitch to me.
Other questions?
Other questions from Mr. Richland?
I'd like to make a comment, Mr. Chair. This is Clint. Conversation with Patrick Glenn regarding these positions. It'd be appropriate me to kind of pass on the warning too that when we're doing classifications like this for these two positions, warranted or not at this point. When we're starting to look at these positions based on market value, we immediately have to realize that we know that we're behind market with the wage schedule that we currently have. In taking on reclassifications, it's appropriate to bring them up to market value, but at the same time, then we're going to jeopardize the integrity, or we possibly could jeopardize the integrity of our entire wage schedule when we're starting to look at these positions across with internal equity types of comparisons. So the changes going forward with the recommendation to move the one position, support it based on the market analysis done by Patrick and as brought forward by Administrator Rislow. But I have to also then beat the drum on recommending that as we approach the next budget, we should really be considering our wage schedule in its entirety, or we're going to potentially have continued reclassification requests to try to get folks to market value versus trying to keep our wage schedule in total up to market value. Mr. Chair.
Okay, I think what I'd like to do here, because I don't remember the reasoning behind the motion that I made and that the board agreed with back in December of 2019, plus this issue with Mr. Glenn and his sort of split recommendation, I'm going to make a motion to postpone this to our next meeting of the Finance and Personnel Committee so we can do a little more research. A second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Second by Supervisor Cooey. Discussion on the motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Supervisor Seat?
I think we should give careful consideration of the motion to postpone. I would like to hear from Administrator Rislow how this might impact his operation.
If you're asking for my opinion about the delay till the next meeting, I'd be okay with that because that means that the proposal that we have is still in play and we have an opportunity to just provide more information that might hopefully help in getting this passed. So I don't have a problem with the delay.
Thank you.
Okay, any other committee members?
This is Mark. I have a tendency to agree with Clint that we're reclassifying somebody every month now, so we're getting them up to their wage, and then we're not going to get the whole county up to where they should in the first place. And if I look back at it, I voted against it back then, and I'm pretty sure it was for the same reasoning. We've got to get everybody up to where they're at, and if we keep piecemealing this, you're just going to put more people against one another in the county instead of going forward. So going to have a real good reason why I would agree with this, I guess, going forward.
Mr. Chairman, comment? Mr. Chairman?
Yep, Supervisor Seat, go ahead.
Yes, I hate to incur the wrath once again from Supervisor Cooey. I think we should be reminded of the caveat that was given to us in the beginning when Carlson Detman made this study. They made it very clear that the health care center is a different animal and cannot be treated in the same way as perhaps the rest of the county because of the unique circumstances and mission of the health care center. We need to look at it differently, and we need to be careful in consideration of staffing because of a tremendous shortage and difficulty in maintaining a level of staff consistent with providing the kind of care we need to patients in the county. So let's remember that this is a different animal, and we were advised to treat it differently by Carlson Detman, and we have looked at it in that way. So I maintain my highest respect for Mr. Cooey, but I disagree with him in the most courteous manner.
Mr. Chair?
Yep, Supervisor Turk, go ahead.
Point of order. We have a motion on the floor to postpone consideration. Debate on a motion to postpone should be confined to the merits of postponing or not versus the merits of the original issue raised.
Okay, yes,
That's per
Supervisor.
Robert's Rules of Order.
Yeah, Supervisor Turk, I believe you're right. Makes sense to me. So any, let's keep the debate to the motion to postpone. Are there any comments on the motion to postpone? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of the motion?
Chairman, roll call vote.
Sure. And actually, I think I need to clarify here. We have two agenda items. Agenda item number 11 and number 12. 11 is for fiscal clerk A to a payroll and accounts payable clerk. Agenda item number 12 is fiscal clerk B to a billing specialist. And my intention is to postpone both items, even though I was only reading agenda item number 11. And am I getting that right, Mr. Langrek and Mr. Rislow, that would make sense to postpone both items?
You are correct.
Okay. So my motion is to postpone agenda items number 11 and 12 to our next meeting. And we've had a roll call requested, and my notes here show that it is Supervisor Gentis's turn to begin, and then I'll run through alphabetically. I'm going to go ahead and call the roll. Mr.
I want to wait a second.
Okay, well, I'm going to explain this for a sentence or two, so you got a little time here.
Okay.
So, Mr. Langrek, I know that you and Mr. Bell are probably taking minutes, and in the future, if you guys could be ready with the alphabetical order. I just happened to pull out my notebook where I kept notes from the last time, so I remember the order. So we'll be starting with Supervisor Gentis, and I'll call the roll this time, but I won't expect to be calling rolls at future meetings, just so everyone's clear on the limits of what I will be doing, most likely. So the motion is to postpone consideration of these agenda items 11 and 12 until our next Finance and Personnel meeting.
Yeah.
So motion in favor is a motion in favor to postpone, and motion against is against postponing. Okay, so Supervisor Gentis.
Aye, in favor.
Luck.
Aye.
Okay, myself, I see.
Did you call Mr. Seat?
I did. Supervisor Seat, yes.
I'm opposed. I vote no.
Supervisor Turk.
Aye.
Supervisor Brewer.
Aye.
Supervisor Cooey.
All right.
Okay, so we have 6. Let me ask Mr. Langrek to do that part. Can you please read what we have?
You have 6 members in favor, 1 opposed. The motion carries, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so the motion to postpone carries. So thank you, Mr. Rislow. We'll consider this at our next meeting again. Agenda item number 13, Administrator Strategic Goals Update and Review. Mr. Langrek.
Okay, Mr. Chair, looking today for motion to accept a report, anticipating possible motion to advise and provide guidance under consideration of changing needs and discussion through Southwest Regional Planning. The background on this, as we've talked about in several different meetings, is it's keeping you in tune to the strategic challenges and goals set forth by the county administrator. And looking over the chart, we're continuing to make progress. I've kind of tailored down some of the action points to the most recent to try to make the document still fit on a one-page presentation format. We continue taking action for the development of long-term strategic planning. As we continue working with our Southwest Regional partners, we have one more meeting. I do have discussion with Troy tomorrow morning regarding action item type deals to incorporate with our strategic planning design. Transition of finance and HR to the fiscal clerk's office. We do have adopted plan for the transfer of the 2 positions, and you did meet Josh, who began with us last week. Are making resolutions and ordinances available on the internet. We don't have any further action on that. Developing more uniform HR policy and procedures. No
Mr.
action
Langrick,
taken.
I apologize for interrupting, but Supervisor Gentis, would you mind muting yourself? There's some paper moving around that.
Oh,
that
sorry.
we're catching. That's okay. No worries. Carry on, Mr. Langrick.
Implementing uniform for performance review programs. We do have action now being taken place with having scheduled annual department head reviews. I'm hoping to complete all of those in 2021 and then entering into 2022 to extend that down then into employees to have all performance evaluations being conducted. Develop plan and funding for more broadband. We're been kind of at a standstill for that. We're looking to eventually meet up with John Burtz in regards to his efforts and see how we can get involved. And we also are tracking that there may be additional monies coming down through state budgets that we're going to be able to access to help with our progress as well. Developing finance and purchasing policy. We've not taken any further action on this with all of our changes in finance right now. Part of this may be appropriate to kind of put off until we get a firm footing on how our new financial systems are going to change in the transition. Developing a new county board member orientation program. Again, we've just had more discussion on it, but we do not have anything firmed up. Full review of county handbook addendums and administrative manual. No action since last month. Partner with Southwest Regional Planning and developing a strategy. Very much underway, obviously, as we have one more meeting. This one will probably be complete the next time that we, about the time that we adopt a plan in either April or May of this year. Develop policy and procedure to address complaints. We did take action on that last month at County Board. And then our last one of putting together a compensation plan is still under development. So we are making actions on these. We do have several other different items that are kind of creeping onto my plate that need some extended time, including actions with the Tri-County Airport and coordinating some discussions in regards to the UW campus and other projects that kind of creep in. But I'm hoping yet that we can continue efforts on these, and hopefully we're tidying these up by the end of this session. Mr. Chair.
My only comment is really fun to see blue used on the chart. I see one of them is completed, so that's great. Other committee members?
My comment is it's good to see all of this together in one place where even I can comprehend the enormity of the tasks before us and the administrator. It's when you look at these things piecemeal, it's hard sometimes to visualize just what we have and what we can accomplish. But when you set it up like this, it's a formidable task, but it looks doable if we take it one bite at a time.
Okay, anyone else? All right, then we have before us a recommendation to accept the report. So I'm looking for a motion to accept the report.
I'll make
Mark,
the motion.
I'll second it. Whichever.
We got a motion by Supervisor Brewer, I'll say, and I'll say a second by Supervisor Cooey. And all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, that motion carries. Agenda item number 14, Administrator Transition Plan Tracking. Mr. Langrick.
Okay, Mr. Chair, no action needed on this one. I guess we can take action to accept and file it as a report. But again, this is kind of the background on this is Resolution 2140. There was where we adopted a plan for the transition of the functions and the plan of the Administrative Transition Committee. Transition plan directives on page number 7 included that oversight and communication was handled through this body. based on the language of the structure committee, giving you authorities and responsibilities to advise and supervise general functions to bring about coordination, etc., as well as needs that may arise out of the office of the county clerk. So our items that we're tracking on, our office space item, we do have that by resolution now redesignated to the administrator. I have conversation after this meeting with Avenue in regards to a new box. We envision that when we have a new AS400 box arriving, that will be placed in a climate-controlled server room with a plan on accessing and backing it up, and that would then kind of free up that office space for myself to transition into it. Establishing county positions. As you met, we have Josh now that is in the position of the accounting supervisor position. The additional tasks that were put in place are kind of still heavily underway as we continue to work through the transition part. Clerk Velasic has been most gracious in helping Josh feel his way through the financial systems. And we've been blessed also with a previous deputy, Kalish, who's been able to come back in a limited term capacity to help with training Josh and showing him some of the historic actions and tracking, especially with the different balancing purposes. So report is filed and I can take questions on it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any questions from the committee? I notice we have several other supervisors in attendance too. Are there any other supervisors who have any questions about this? Okay, if not, I'm looking for a motion on the transition for administration.
I'll make that motion. This is Melissa.
Okay, motion by Luck.
Dave will second.
Second by Turk. Any discussion? Probably not. Please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that motion carries. That takes us to agenda item number 15, a closed session pursuant to Wisconsin State Statute 1985. Section E, deliberating or whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. And our purpose today would be to formulate collective bargaining strategy regarding negotiations with the Sheriff's Deputies Union. And so I'm reading all of that because there's an exemption in state law for open meetings for certain things, and that's one of the exemptions, Section E. Section C, another exemption is considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility. And today, under that section of statute, we would be considering performance evaluation data of the corporation counsel and county administrator. So here let's see, we'll need a motion in a second, and then we'll also need to do a roll call. And that would be to go into closed session under both sections for all of those reasons that we listed.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion by Luck.
I'll second.
Second by Brewer. So then the roll call would start with Luck this time. So Supervisor Luck.
Aye.
Myself is an aye. Supervisor Seep.
Aye.
Turk.
Aye.
Brewer.
Aye.
Cooey.
Aye.
Gentis.
Aye.
Did you say aye, Supervisor Gentis? My computer froze up.
Yes. Aye.
Okay,
aye,
thank
aye.
you. It was just me. Okay, I also want to mention that there are other county board supervisors who are allowed to come into the closed session. So I believe we have, let's see, Supervisor Van Landite, Supervisor Glassbrenner, Supervisor Severson, and those are the three additional people I see. Are there any other supervisors who are on the call that I did not list your name off?
Mr. Chairman, this is Kerry Severson.
Yes. Okay.
My iPad is at 6%, and so I'm calling in on my phone in case that dies.
Okay. Okay, so you're talking from the phone number that ends in 11, correct?
Yes, correct.
Okay, got it. Great. Good to know. Did I miss any other county board supervisors? Okay, so ask that Ms. Scott, would you be able to clear the room of other people if they haven't already left?
Turn control over to Administrator Langrick,
Okay.
and so he can open it back up. And then the other question that I have, and I believe is appropriate, is I'm going to pause the recording of the meeting.
Okay.
That's correct. I believe it's appropriate to pause the recording of the meeting. That'll be my call unless I hear opposition from any committee members.
Okay, I'm going to pause the recording then, and I will start putting people to the lobby.
Barb, when you transfer it over, can you transfer authority to my profile, Richland County, versus my name? I've got the Richland County one established on my desktop versus my iPad.
Sure, let me find you. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Supervisor Seat?
at this point, Ms. Scott, the public is excluded from this, correct?
She's still working on wait until she's cleared the room of everyone except for Mr. Langreck and county board members